Wait, the Bears are capable of winning games? Welcome back to Couch Football, episode 4 of season 4. You're here with Luke. That's right, only Luke, because Ryan Griner has decided that he's too good for this podcast. Nah, he's just busy. So I am going to be by my lonesome through the news segment, and then later on we've got Caleb calling in to discuss his power rankings with us. I'm also going to give my top 5 teams in the NFL, and then we're going to preview the Lions-Bucs game that's going to happen later this week. So let's check in on the news team.
News team, assemble!
So the Colts and Jonathan Taylor have agreed to a 3-year, $42 million extension, $26.5 million guaranteed, and to respond, Zach Moss decided to go off and have a field day and put up a monster performance against the Titans defense, which is not a good matchup for running backs, so who knows what they're going to do now. Jonathan Taylor played, I think, around 18% of snaps, so obviously you expect that number to increase, but it'll be interesting to see how much it increases from there. Possibly. I think this could very well end up being a 50-50 split for a little while. So Travis Kelce was injured in their game. Did not come back from their game once he went out. And it was a low ankle sprain is the initial diagnosis. They play on Thursday night against the Broncos, so he did not practice on Monday, and I would not expect him to suit up for this one, so bad year for him injury-wise. And then final piece of news, Justin Jefferson. It is a undisclosed hamstring injury. Not exactly sure what the specifics are. Kevin O'Connell said that he's going through some additional tests. So they said, the quote that I read was, it is a long shot for him to play this next week. So brutal if you got him on your team. Ryan's not here, so this won't be as sweet, but we do have a fullback shout-out.
Are you a big man? Huh? I'm talking to you!
Which goes to Kyle Juszczyk for scoring a receiving touchdown in last night's game against the Cowboys. I'm recording this on Monday for reference, so. All right, I think that'll just about do it. Let's go ahead and transition. Transition! All right, and we are into our main segment. Caleb is on the line now.
Joining from sunny Aruba.
Right, that's where you're at. So we're going to do our power rankings. So we are going to go over our individual top 5 NFL teams. We're going to start from 5, and we're going to work our way down to 1. They might overlap. I think we'll probably each have a different team at 5, is what I'm guessing. But I think it'll probably be pretty close across the board. So my number 5 is actually it's the Lions at 4-1. They beat the Chiefs. Their only loss was in overtime against Seattle, and they're playing old school, hard-nosed, cutthroat football. They got one of the strongest running back tandems in the NFL. They've got a stud receiver who we'll see if he plays this week, but Amon-Ra St. Brown has been killing it, and then they've got this up-and-coming tight end Sam Laporta, who I streamed him in a league this week, and I was like, I wonder why he's so good. And I looked at where he went to college. He went to Iowa, and I was like, that explains everything. Iowa always makes the best tight ends. So
That does.
So did you have the Lions on? Do you have the Lions on your top 5?
I went back and forth. Actually, I was actually between the Lions and my number 5 team. I actually have Lions as number 6. They're very close, and I'll give you that, man. They've been playing really good football. Only lost against the Seahawks in overtime. However, I think when you look at the resume of who teams have beaten, even though they've lost an extra game, for number 5 right now, I need to go with the Bills. They blew out the Miami Dolphins, who have been blowing out other teams. Another one of my top 5 teams. I believe they're the only ones in my top 5 right now who have blown out some, or who have actually played one of the other teams and beat them. Other than I would have been the Lions and the Chiefs, but I don't have the Lions in the top 5. So the Bills are just a really good team right now. Obviously, they lost this week against the Jags. It was a weird game. I feel like London games are always kind of weird. They need to clean up some easy stuff to clean up, and they need to stop starting so slow. But I still think they have the potential to be one of the top 3 teams in the NFL. There are 2 teams who I think are head and shoulders above them, but I think that they do have potential to be one of the top 3.
Yeah. This actually leads in very well to mine because my number 4 is the Bills. So pretty much very similar reasons. They're 3-2. They do have the worst record in my top 5. Mm-hmm. And yeah, I did call out. I said last week they would have been higher on the list because last week they blew out the Dolphins, but they had their weird jet lag loss to the Jags, who stayed in London after playing the Falcons in London the week before. But yeah, no, they've had 2 awkward losses. The Jets was a weird game too, but they have won every other game in very convincing fashion. They've blown out pretty much everyone else they've played. And also, I just kind of feel like this is the trend for the Bills every year. Is at some point in the season they suffer some losses that make people go, I don't think that they're a good team, and people question how legit they are, and then by the end of the season they're always in the playoffs. So I think this is following suit for them. Yes. So who did you have at number 4?
Yeah, so my number 4 is actually the team that the Bills have beat, which is the Dolphins. Mm-hmm. Reason I have the Dolphins as number 4 right now. So they did beat the Chargers week 1. That was a good win for them. Their competition hasn't been great. They played the Patriots, the Broncos, and the Giants. But the thing is, they've blown them all out. The Patriots game looks closer than it actually was. If you watched the game, if you remember, the Patriots came back in the fourth quarter kind of in garbage time. Mm-hmm. Obviously, they put 70 on the Broncos, and they just blew out the Giants last week. They are doing what good teams are supposed to do, which is they blow out games they're supposed to win. Mm-hmm. Now, of course, they had the loss to the Bills. That's a tough loss. It was away. The Bills match up really well with the Dolphins. I think if the Bills and the Dolphins meet in the playoffs, the Bills are going to beat them again because they match up really well. Sometimes there are just those teams that match up really well against other teams, But I still think they're a very well-run, well-coached team. And, the tipping point was Chase Claypool. He's probably the best receiver.
Oh, yeah? Was that the tipping point?
So that's just going to be the tipping point for me. I mean, they're going from 4-1 for sure.
Yeah.
No, I like the Dolphins. I think they're a good team. I will say there's kind of a tier break for me between 4 and 3 on this list. And then there's another tier break from 3 to 2, but I'll get to that. But yeah, Dolphins number 4. Yeah,
so the Dolphins actually just fell out of my top 5. They were sitting at 5, and then I switched it to the Lions at the last second because, it was just kind of a reality check when they went up against an actual defense because they've played some defenses that aren't the best, and they hung 70 points on Denver, but I think it was pretty humbling of them to get crushed by the Bills, and I couldn't justify throwing them on the list when, even though the Bills have a worse record, the Bills still, they just destroyed them. So they just fell off mine.
Let me tell you something. Every year I'm tempted to draft the Broncos defense because they're always supposed to be good. And even this year, the fantasy footballers had them ranked as their number 6 defense on the year, right? Mm-hmm. And you're like, oh, pretty good. Never again. I'm never drafting the Broncos again.
Yeah.
They got 70 hung on them 2 weeks ago. I'm not drafting them.
Yeah. So we'll go into my number 3. My number 3 is the Chiefs at 4-1. So the Chiefs, they've had some ugly wins. 3 of their 4 wins were within 1 score, and then the other 1 win was against the Bears. So need I say more?
Still an ugly win.
Yeah, for the Bears.
Ugly win for Bears.
Ugly loss for the Bears, but
There you go.
Now, they're still one of the most dynamic offenses in the league, and actually their defense looks pretty solid, like better than years past, I feel like. They do have a tough schedule though, and that's why I could see them dropping from this top 5. They still have to play the Eagles this year. They still have to play I think they play the Bills. Actually, let me pull it up. They play the Eagles, they play the Bills. They're in the Chargers division. They play against the Dolphins.
Look, they're getting ready to play the Broncos 2 of the next 3 weeks. They'll be fine.
Yeah, that is true. But then later on in the season, they finish off the season playing against the Bengals and the Chargers, and I think the Chargers and Bengals are both going to pick it up. They've had some ugly starts this season, but I expect both those teams to turn it up. I've got my fingers crossed for Eckler to come back, but yeah, Chiefs. I mean, they're just the Chiefs. Like they're going to be contender every year as long as they have Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid and Travis Kelce. So yeah, that's my number 3.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. The Chiefs are my number 3 as well. A lot of the same reasoning. I will say, sorry, Lion fans. If the Chiefs had Kelce week 1, I think they would have won that game. Or if they had a receiver who didn't have bricks for hands, they would have got that. They would have won that game. But the Lions played a good game.
Don't you take that away from Lions fans?
But I will tell you what's worried me about the Chiefs a little bit. Like you said, their defense is playing well, but I mean, they won by 3 against the Jets and by 7 against the Vikings. Now, I did not watch the Vikings game, but I did watch the entire Jets game, and it's Zach Wilson. He played a good game, but it's Zach Wilson. So
yeah,
I'm not convinced. I think the Chiefs are much better than the Dolphins, who are my number 4 team. But I think they're much worse than my number 2 team right now, personally.
Yeah. And your number 2 team is?
It is the Philadelphia Eagles, of course.
Yeah, mine is too.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, any power rankings list that does not have the 2 4-0 teams as the top 2 teams, they need to throw that sheet in the
5-0.
Yeah, 5-0, right? Now they're 5-0, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you have to do that. So they are, in my opinion, clearly the best 2 teams in the NFL right now.
Which is odd because they're both in the NFC.
Yep.
Who would have thought that the NFC would have the stronger teams?
And it's funny, too. Yeah, like you said, everybody talked about the AFC has so many great quarterbacks. There's so many, and it's kind of like the NFC, to me, has the 2 best teams in the league. Now, the reason I have the Eagles lower than the 49ers, who are my number 1 team, is because if you look at their games played, they've had a lot closer games, even against somewhat inferior opponents. For instance, the Commanders with the Eagles, they went to overtime and they won the game, but they went to overtime, right?
Mm-hmm.
Eagles barely squeaked it out against the Patriots. I don't really put a lot of stock into that game. It was a windy, rainy game. Those happen. But when you look at the 49ers, they really haven't had a very close game. Their closest game they've had all season was the Rams, and that game wasn't that close. I mean, it was definitely closer than the other games, but it's a divisional game. But they won by 7. If you look at the other games, they're just stomping teams, man. They stomped the Cowboys last night. Stomped the Steelers at the beginning of the season. I mean, the 49ers are just head and shoulders better than everybody. Brock Purdy he's an animal, man. He is insane.
Yeah. Something interesting I'm watching. We're recording this early. We're recording this on Monday, so I've got the Raiders-Packers game on. Did you know that the Raiders and Packers kickers are brothers?
Oh, they really?
Yeah.
That's hilarious. I thought they just had the same last name.
They're brothers, and they just showed it on camera, and they're showing their dad, and their dad is the spitting image of both of them. It's actually kind of funny.
It's funny.
But no, the Eagles, they're also my number 2. Pretty much same reasons. I think it's odd to say that an undefeated team has underperformed, but that's honestly kind of how I feel about them. Like, I feel like they could be doing a lot better. Watching them last year, they probably should be doing better. And I think they'll tighten it up. But yeah, no, they've had some bad teams that have been able to go toe to toe with them. So that's definitely problematic. Yeah, so
Well, I'll just interject real quick. I'll say, to me, the big difference between the Eagles and the 49ers right now is the Eagles' secondary is kind of susceptible this year, much more so than last year. They're actually giving up the second most points to wide receivers in fantasy football this year.
mm-hmm.
Their secondary is just not quite as good as it was. I think that's going to hurt them later on in the year, especially with some of the teams they play. December 3rd, though, man. Eagles and Niners. I'm super excited for that game.
Yeah, that one will be good. Hopefully it'll be more entertaining than Cowboys-Niners.
I told Clayton Layman, I was like, Cowboys and Niners, it's the best game of the year. It's like, no, it's not.
Yeah. So I'll go ahead and lead into my number one pick, which is obviously it's the 49ers at 5-0. Which 1 week ago we talked about this, and I had them behind the Eagles. But after they dominated the second best defense in the NFL, second to only the Niners themselves, I had to move them up. They hung 40 points on that vaunted Cowboys defense that everyone has been talking about like crazy. And they're just a super talented roster. Like, on both sides of the ball, they are probably the most talented roster pound for pound. My main reserve for them going into the season was whether or not Brock Purdy could be the guy, and he clearly is. I know everyone loves to draw the Tom Brady comparison, and honestly, at this point it's pretty accurate because obviously both late round picks, but when it comes to the play style, like, Brady did not have the strongest arm, neither does Purdy. Neither one of them had very insane, athleticism. Neither one is very talented in that regard, but both had pinpoint accuracy. Purdy can read defenses insanely well for a young quarterback. And honestly, like, the dude has not lost a game. He's leading the league in QBR. He's thrown 9 touchdowns, 0 picks. He only has thrown 20 yards less than Patrick Mahomes at this point, and Mahomes has thrown 4 interceptions. No, honestly, at this point, Purdy looks like the guy. Now, obviously, the real challenge will be in years to come as the Niners roster, gets thinned out, because that's always what happens to loaded teams. But Brady had to deal with the same problem, and he had to learn to do more with less. But honestly, like, I don't think people love to say that quarterbacks can just come in and play for the 49ers, but he's the best one to come through.
Yeah, so I was one of the same ones who said that. I said, the 49ers, they're just great with quarterbacks. Doesn't matter who's back there. But I tell you what, Brock Purdy, you watch him play, and the thing is, a lot of times when you see quarterbacks who have 0 interceptions, you're like, okay, they're dumping off the ball all the time, right? They're just, they're only throwing to wide open people, things like that.
Mm-hmm.
He's not. He's throwing over the middle of the field. He's throwing to Kittle on, seam routes. It's not safe throws he's doing, but they're good throws and they're accurate.
Yeah, I think he's averaging like 19 yards per pass attempt or something like that.
I just think anybody at this point who's still a naysayer on Purdy, I'm like, are you watching the football? Are you watching him play? And the Niners, the nice thing about their situation is that obviously they're in that really lucky situation of having a really late round rookie quarterback, which really helps your team's finances.
Yeah.
Purdy this year is making $870,000 this year. He
has a roommate.
I saw that. Yep. I was just gonna say he still splits his rent. He has a roommate.
Yeah.
So.
No, that's true, but also, like, a team that spends what they spent to pick up Trey Lance, and that doesn't work out, 99% of the time, that team is ruined for years. They lucked out so hard by getting him as Mr. Irrelevant as the last pick of the draft. And I was talking to a coworker of mine, and he was talking about Purdy, and he was like, I just don't understand. He's like, when you watch what that dude is doing in the NFL, how do players like him and like Tom Brady and other late round picks, how do they slip through the cracks? Like, what are they measuring at the combine, and what are all these scouts looking at? And honestly, it's the flashiness, because Brock Purdy is not the flashiest quarterback. He's not He's not doing the Mahomes. He's not throwing left-handed touchdowns and, he's not doing insane things, but he's executing better than anyone else right now.
Yeah, so I'll say Brady was kind of this way, but Purdy is this way as well. I think it's the perfect storm. It's the perfect storm of a really talented quarterback who does come through, who's not flashy, but can read defenses, and is a really smart player who knows when to throw, when not to throw. He just makes good decisions. It's the mix of that going to a Shanahan-led offense. And Shanahan really is a quarterback-friendly offense in the way he plays things. So I think that I just believe that Purdy was he was kind of in a perfect situation, but also he's a very talented player. Like, I really think you could take him off the 49ers right now and put him on other teams, and I do not think he would be as good, but I think he would be a good player. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yep. So,
you're not that accurate and just completely bad on other teams. With the caveat of the Bears. He went on the Bears, he would suck.
Yeah. But yeah, Niners are super talented. Do you have any other points you want to bring up about the Niners?
They were my Super Bowl pick to win the Super Bowl this year, so that's looking good.
Yeah. Well, like I said, preseason, Purdy was the question, and I mean, don't get me wrong, I am rooting for him, just like most people are. People love an underdog story, so I think there are a lot of people rooting for him. And honestly, I mean, yeah, it is nice to see him playing so well. And he also, I mean, he is not afraid of anything. He will stand in the pocket and get completely crushed and throw a deep ball. So, So, yeah.
I will say with the 49ers, they do play the Browns this week, and that could be a bit of a trap game. Because the Browns actually have a pretty good defense. The Browns are coming off a bye.
So Caleb is saying bet on the Browns.
The 49ers are going to be running kind of high, right, from just beating up on the Cowboys in Sunday Night Football. I still think the Niners win, but I do think that the Browns have a good chance of covering the spread.
Okay. All right, I think that'll do it for our power rankings. Let's go ahead and do our game preview. Game preview! So we are going to be previewing the 4-1 Lions at the 3-1 Bucs. The Buccaneers are coming off their bye week. Mike Evans and Amon-Ra St. Brown are both questionable for this one. It's kind of nice because Mike Evans got injured and then they had the bye week to recover. So hopefully he'll be good to go. But like I said, we're recording this kind of early, so I don't have practice reports to look at, which is going to be kind of rough. But the betting lines, the Lions are 3-point favorites, and the over-under is set at 45.5. Do you have anything specifically that you want to point out about this matchup before we jump into the fantasy part?
Well, I am curious with the Lions and the Bucs. I'm curious from your standpoint, Luke. If the Bucs beat the Lions, are the Bucs real?
Honestly, I would say so. And I mean, this could be a trap game for the Lions, especially if Amon-Ra St. Brown doesn't play. But
yeah, the big thing with the Bucs has been that they haven't beat anybody, right? They beat the Vikings,
right.
They beat the Bears, they beat the Saints, right? People say they haven't beat anybody yet.
Yeah, well, the Saints are definitely the best team they beat. But then the Saints. So are the Patriots just really bad after getting shut out by the Saints, or is the Saints defense just more legit and they just had a bad game against the Buccaneers?
No, I think the Patriots suck.
Yeah.
I watched some of the game. They kept showing that game on Red Zone.
Right, yeah.
And Mac Jones is not a good quarterback.
Yeah, I agree. We have seen Bailey Zappi 2 weeks in a row.
Mm-hmm.
And, yeah, there are a lot of analysts are questioning whether or not this is Belichick's last season. And then there are other analysts that are saying that Robert Kraft should take away his general manager privileges.
Well.
So, which, yeah, I don't know, it's odd. The Patriots are something else, but anyways, yeah, we'll go ahead and do the fantasy window. So the way the fantasy window works is we have must-starts for each team that you just have to start in your fantasy lineup. And then we've got players. Oh, yeah, Jahmyr Gibbs is questionable too, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
Forgot to throw that out. But, And then, yeah, we'll get into the are we willing to play these players in a second. But so the Lions must starts. David Montgomery is an obvious must start. Sam Laporta is a must start. And I think he's the tight end 2 on the season. And then Amon-Ra St. Brown, if he plays, is a must start. Even if he's gimpy, you still will probably play him. So if Jahmyr Gibbs is healthy, is this the week where you bench him, even if he's healthy?
Man, I tell you, I'm a fellow Jahmyr Gibbs owner, of course, and it's been rough so far. The rough part really has not been his production. He actually has been a pretty consistent producer. It's that David Montgomery is always on the field.
Yep.
It's been rough. It reminds me of,
as Bears fans, we knew how good Montgomery was.
Yeah, yep. Montgomery's been great. I would only play him if I have to, honestly. If you have better options, I would probably go with one of those. Tampa Bay they're I think the 7th best team against running backs right now.
Mm-hmm.
I'd start Montgomery, obviously. He's a must start every week right now, regardless of matchup. But with Gibbs, I think I would bench him. There's quite a few running backs I would start over Gibbs right now.
All right. Would you start Gibbs in this one? Or would you play Isaiah Pacheco versus the Broncos on Thursday?
Oh, Pacheco, absolutely. I'd play Pacheco over a lot of players.
I think that's what I'm going to do in our family league that we're in.
I mean, he's playing against the Broncos, so.
Yeah, I know, but yeah, I don't know. Pacheco's looking good, so. Okay, so would you play Josh Reynolds in this one? I guess pretty much same thing for me with Gibbs, by the way. I think you bench him if you have better options, but there are going to be a lot of people painted into a corner because they draft him in the 3rd round. So
right, his ADP's the 3rd, so you kind of have to play him, unless you were able to pick up somebody on waivers or something.
Well, hopefully you grab DeAndre Swift in the 6th or 7th.
Yeah,
that would work well.
I wouldn't love playing Gibbs for sure, but yeah. As far as Josh Reynolds is concerned, I wouldn't hate it as my flex, but if you can find a better matchup, I would go with it. Bucs are good against wide receivers as well, so it's kind of rough.
Yeah.
Their defense has proved a lot of people wrong so far this year, so it's not the easiest matchup.
Now, to be fair, the Buccaneers have only played 4 games, and one of them was against the Bears.
So they played 3 games.
so some of these numbers are probably a little skewed, but yeah, I'm really only interested in Amon-Ra St. Brown. I could see playing Josh Reynolds in the flex, but I don't really want to. I think there are better options out there. Kind of feel the same way about Jameson Williams.
Yeah.
So I think that's there's one more, Jared Goff in this one, which is tempting.
Yeah, I don't hate it. I think Goff will get 16 points. So if you're looking at, Jared Goff or, let's say you're an Anthony Richardson owner and he's hurt, that'd be a good pivot. Going to Jared Goff, I wouldn't hate that.
Yeah. Yep. I'd be willing to play Jared Goff. Now this is not a good matchup for him. So it completely depends on who's on waivers and who else is on waivers in the league. Obviously, if Brock Purdy's on your waivers, then you should scoop him up. But he's rostered most leagues now, so there is C.J. Stroud who had a down game, but yeah, Goff is he's a flip a coin on whether or not you want to play him. He has not proven to be great against good defenses, but
yeah, I think I would play Goff if Amon-Ra plays. I'd be much more tempted to play him too, because if Amon-Ra does not play, I actually think they'll lean on Montgomery more. But yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I kind of lean that way too. Okay, we'll flip it over to the Buccaneers. The Buccaneers, 2 must starts: Mike Evans, Chris Godwin. So, are we willing to play Rashad White in this one? The Lions are pretty good against the running back position. They are the 3rd worst matchup that you can have for a running back.
Yeah, they are good against running backs. I wouldn't hate. Man, it's tough. All right, I got a hard one. Would you rather play Jahmyr Gibbs or Rashad White?
I think I would play Jahmyr Gibbs just because the talent is there, but also the matchup's a little bit better. But yeah.
Yeah, I actually think I lean towards White, and the only reason is because I feel like if anything, especially in a PPR, if the Buccaneers are down, they'll have to throw to get back in it. Where I could see the Lions just handing it to Montgomery 30 times.
That is the truth. Yeah, I don't know. I think I still lean Gibbs just a little bit because he is super talented. It's just a matter of volume, and that's what's super annoying. Here's one that I could technically do in our couch league. Zach Moss or Rashad White.
I'll tell you what, play Zach Moss until Taylor proves he can actually play.
Yeah, it's that one. It's a sucky situation because you just know that Zach Moss is going to eventually bite you because eventually Jonathan Taylor is going to get like at least 60% of the snaps. But
as long as you don't play Zach Moss, he'll do really well.
And that is true. Hey, I did play him last week though.
You did play him. That is true.
That's because I was painted into a corner. It was Kenny Gainwell or Zach Moss, and at the last second, I was thinking about putting Gainwell in. And I was like, nah, I'll leave Moss in. And then I still lost because I had to play against Jamar Chase.
I'll say this as far as Rashad White's concerned. Like I said, the running back landscape is just brutal right now. So I think I'd have to play him probably in my flex if I was in that situation. Or, in a lot of teams, they're having to play him as his running back too,
Yeah.
So.
Yep. Okay. So we're definitely playing Evans and Godwin. I take it we're...
Evans plays.
Yeah, if Evans plays.
Hamstring, so.
Yeah. Well, hopefully he plays. But I take it we're both out on Trey Palmer and Cade Otton.
Yeah, I don't want any of them.
Yeah. And then, is Baker Mayfield still a streaming candidate?
Well, last year, the Lions were a great matchup for quarterbacks. This year, they're more middle of the pack. I don't hate it. I kind of view Jared Goff in the same situation as Baker Mayfield in this game.
Yeah.
So, if you were to tell me, hey, who should you start, Baker Mayfield or Jared Goff, I'd probably lean Goff, but not by much.
Yeah. Yeah, I think if Evans plays, I would be willing to throw Mayfield out there as a streaming quarterback, but if Evans does not play, I don't really want to touch Baker Mayfield, so... Okay, I think that'll do it for the fantasy window. We'll do the team breakdown now. So in the team breakdown, I'll name an area of play, and then we will go over who we think is stronger in that area. And there are 5 categories. Whoever wins the majority should win the game, but it doesn't always happen. So number 1 is quarterback. It's Jared Goff versus Baker Mayfield.
Yeah, it's a lot closer than I thought it would be. Baker's played pretty well this year, honestly.
Yeah.
He's proved a lot of people wrong, I think, so far. Although I think it was you who said Baker always starts really well, and then he kind of peters off by the end of the season.
He always fizzles out. He can step off a plane after signing with a team for 12 hours and win the game. That's
right.
But then that will be the only game that he wins. So that's kind of been Baker Mayfield's whole thing.
Yeah. I think between the two, I'd go with Goff for this matchup. I think Goff's I think arguably he's a top 12 quarterback right now in the NFL. So just playing good football. He knows the right decision to make, and he typically makes it. So
Yeah.
he's playing good mistake-free football.
I think, I think I'll go with Goff as well. He's like the definition of a game manager, but he is managing the game very well. So, okay, we'll go to running back position. So, Rashad White, Keyshawn Vaughn, Sean Tucker versus Dave Montgomery, Jahmyr Gibbs. I feel like this one's actually pretty easy. I'm gonna go with Detroit. So.
Yeah, I think you have to. It's sad because you look at David Montgomery as Bears fans, and you're like, man, what could have been if we had a decent offensive line?
Yeah. Also, what could have been if we would have spent, $6 million? Stupid running back contracts.
I mean, honestly, though, he wasn't going to be as good for us. We didn't have the offensive line for him.
No,
Offensive line is a lot better.
Yeah, it's totally true, and that's why it's sad as Bears fans that we knew that he was a talented running back. We just knew that he always was playing on a crappy running offense, and that's how it's always going to be.
Yep.
Although I don't know, the Bears' offensive line is getting healthier. Tevin Jenkins came back off of IR, so
that's true. Did you go through Did you talk about the Chase Claypool trade at all on news?
I did not.
I was just curious what you thought about that because it looks like we traded him for a 6th-round pick.
6th-round pick, and we gave them a 7th.
Yeah. It's like we traded our first or our 2nd-round pick or something pretty high.
It was pretty much a first. What happened was we traded them our earliest 2nd-round pick, and then the Dolphins were voided a draft pick by penalty. They had to give one up because of I think it was the who was it? What was the conspiring thing? Was it?
I don't remember exactly, but I know what you're talking about.
Yeah. I think it was Sean Payton. I think Sean Payton was conspiring with the Dolphins. I think Tom Brady was involved too. But anyways, they had to give up a draft pick. They forfeited their 1st-round draft pick, so it was pretty much a 1st-round pick. It was the 32nd, because the Bears were the worst team. It ended up being the 32nd overall pick, so pretty much a 1st-rounder for Chase Claypool.
Yeah.
Pretty terrible, so.
Yeah, I don't know. It's just, I felt like, apparently they got rid of him because he, was late to meetings and, didn't care.
No, he clearly didn't care on the field, that showed, so. 0 effort. Yeah, now he's competing with Robbie Chosen for reps, so. Yeah, no, that's brutal. But, if Poles ends up getting fired at the end of the season, everyone will point at that Claypool trade and be like, that's what it was. That's the reason. So.
Yeah.
You know what's annoying about that is that the Packers were willing to offer a 2nd as well. And they took the Bears offer instead.
Yeah, seems about right.
Yeah, Packers dodged a bullet. Okay, so wide receivers and tight ends. So we'll go ahead and assume that Amon-Ra St. Brown and Mike Evans are playing in this one.
Okay.
I'll go first. I'm gonna go with. It is tough because while Evans and Godwin are a great duo, I think I would rather, if this were fantasy football, I would rather have Amon-Ra St. Brown. And then, if you had to have 2 pass catchers on the same team in fantasy, would you rather have Mike Evans and be flexing Chris Godwin, or would you rather have Sam Laporta and Amon-Ra St. Brown?
Yeah, it's hard, though, because, I'd rather have Amon-Ra and Laporta, but it's hard because one's a tight end. Yeah. So it's a positional advantage in fantasy.
What if you had to flex Laporta? Would you flex a tight end?
I don't like to.
I don't think I'd be flexing him over Godwin, but
yeah, I don't know if I'd do that. That would be hard.
Yeah, dude has caught 1 billion touchdowns already though this year.
Yeah, that's true. I don't know. I think I'm actually gonna go with the Bucs on this one. It's close. Don't get me wrong. It's definitely close. It's just that I like Amon-Ra most of all of the wide receivers, but I like Mike Evans not that much worse. and I like Chris Godwin a decent amount more than Laporta right now. Although, in fantasy, like I said, Laporta's a tight end, so that's a big advantage.
Yeah. All right. Yeah, I think I would also take the Buccaneers. It's just that is the more tried and true combo with Evans and Godwin. There's a lot of talent there. It's very close, but yeah, I think I just barely give the edge to Tampa Bay. And now we're on to defense, which both of these defenses are pretty solid. So I think I'm going to go with the Buccaneers. The Buccaneers have... The degree of difficulty hasn't been as bad. Obviously, they didn't have to play the Chiefs or anything like that, but they are... I mean, that's what they're reminding people of the most is everyone watched Tom Brady leave and thought the Buccaneers were just going to be terrible, and a lot of people forgot that they have a pretty solid defense, and they're getting to the quarterback, and they're also forcing tons of turnovers. So yeah, I barely give the edge to Tampa Bay.
Yeah, I mean, I think I do too. I think I have to give the edge to Tampa Bay, and it's tough because I loved watching the Lions beat up on the Packers last week or 2 weeks ago. But yeah, I mean, Tampa Bay has been winning pretty consistently via their defense. Just shutting down teams. I mean, the most they've allowed this entire season is 25 points. It's pretty impressive. Yeah, and that was to the Eagles, right? We just went over the second best team in the league. They allowed 25 points.
Yeah.
So that's pretty good. They're not getting blown out, and they have yet to get blown out. So that's pretty impressive. I will say they play the Bills in 3 weeks. That would be the blowout opportunity, and then they play the 49ers in 6 weeks. So they've got kind of a it's funny because their schedule, I think, is actually really winnable, and they could definitely take this division with their schedule.
Mm-hmm.
But they have a couple games that are really rough. They play the Bills and the 49ers away. That'll be tough.
Yeah. I guess they did play the Eagles. I forgot about that, but yeah. So the next category is coaching. I almost said Bruce Arians. It's Todd Bowles versus the chicken noodle himself, right?
That's right.
Dan Campbell. Which is who I'm picking. I'm picking Dan Campbell.
Yeah, you're such a homer.
Yeah, a homer. I'm a Bears fan.
You wouldn't know it by this conversation.
Yeah, that's right.
What's your reason for picking the chicken noodle?
He has completely turned around the culture in Detroit, right? They're biting kneecaps off, but no, I mean honestly, the roster they've constructed is pretty good, and it's not just like it's not just that they were able to pick up some nice free agents and draft some solid players like Amon-Ra St. Brown, but it's also he's got me believing that he's just a good coach and he's getting the best out of his players. When Goff got traded as part of that Matthew Stafford trade, he was being traded like he was just garbage, and he's got Goff playing pretty good football right now. So, and clearly he's got his locker room's respect. Do you ever watch the Lions locker room celebration videos on YouTube?
I've seen some of them, yeah.
Yeah. Did you watch the first one when they were 0-10? They beat the Vikings a couple years ago. Did you watch that one?
Yeah, I remember that one. Yep.
Yeah. So they were all stoked about it, and that was when Urban Meyer was a head coach in the NFL, and he was throwing chairs at players or whatever it was he was doing and all that crap. And clearly, that was two losing locker rooms, and one had clearly given up on their coach with Urban Meyer, and the other one clearly never gave up on their coach. And yeah, clearly he has his players' respect. So yeah, I'm a big Dan Campbell fan. I'm not a Lions fan, but I do like Dan Campbell, and yeah, I do hope that he succeeds in the NFL. So.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I'm with you. That's yeah. I'll tell you the one thing. I'm gonna go with Dan Campbell as well. Although I do like Todd Bowles, I feel like he's been doing a good job in Tampa, just with game plan and with the defense there especially. I do think that Dan Campbell has changed that culture, which is when somebody can walk in and change a culture of a team. That's a big thing, and that is how. And that's what the Bears have needed for years. Somebody to walk in and actually change the culture.
They'll never do it.
That's true.
George McCaskey is scared that if he hires a coach that will get all fiery and come up to his office and yell at him when something is stupid, then
the Bears,
he'll be afraid.
The Bears owners are like Matthew McConaughey when a new coach comes in. Listen, here's what we do: we take the fans' money and we put it in our pocket.
That's right. Nah, it's stupid, but yeah. Big difference between, this is kind of unrelated to this game, but a big difference between the Lions and the Bears is that the Lions owner, I can't remember, I think it's Sheila, whatever, she's part of the Ford family, I can't remember what her last name is. She clearly wants to win.
It's Sheila Ford, look.
What?
It's Sheila Ford, obviously.
No, it's something else, but that's her maiden name is Ford. But no, the Lions, she clearly wants to win, and I just don't think the McCaskies care if they win or not. It's simple as that. That's why I want them to sell the team so bad, but,
Well, if you wanted to sell the team so bad, why don't you just buy it, Luke?
Oh, I would. Trust me, if I had...
I'm sure you're making buku bucks doing this podcast.
Yeah, that's right. When I get my first billion, I'm buying the Chicago Bears. But, yeah. All right. Well, so by that count, Detroit won 3 out of the 5 categories. So we'll go ahead and do our score prediction. Reminder, the over-under was 45.5. And I'm going to go with, I'm going to say 28-17 Detroit.
Okay. So you actually think that Detroit's going to score more points than the Eagles did against the Buccaneers?
I think they will.
Okay.
Yeah. I see 4 touchdowns in their range of outcomes.
All right. Well, I am actually going to take the upset in this game. I'm going to say the Buccaneers are going to pull it out, and then I'm going to say it's going to be a close game. It's going to be 21-17 Buccaneers.
Not 3-6?
Not 3-6. If you look at the one game they lost, the Lions lost, it was against the Seahawks. Mm-hmm. And the Seahawks happen to have 2 really good wide receivers. Kenneth Walker had 2 touchdowns that game, but he only had 40 yards rushing. So I think that you're going to just need more damage to be done through the air, and I think that Mike Evans and Chris Godwin can do that.
Yeah.
Assuming Mike Evans plays. If Mike Evans doesn't play, then the Lions are going to win this game.
All right. Well, I think that'll do it for this episode. Caleb, thanks for joining.
Yep.
And we will likely see the audience next week for Between the Cushions, even though we did not do it this last week. Whoops. Thanks for listening. See you later.